The president's nearly $48 billion education plan includes testing children annually to more closely monitor reading and math skills, rewarding schools where grades improve and punishing failing schools by cutting federal money to districts that don't show progress, and allowing parents of children in public schools that fail 3 years in a row to use tax dollars, government vouchers, to move their children to private schools.
Education is one of the most important elements to a person's life. Those hours spent sitting in the classroom today give students essential information that they will carry into tomorrow. However, many have voiced concerns over the emphasis on standardized tests in American schools. Standardized tests have been utilized in American schools since the mid-1800s. However, it wasn't until 2002's No Child Left Behind Act that their usage skyrocketed. No Child Left Behind was designed to hold schools accountable, and it punished schools that did not show improvement from year to year. Ever since the act was implemented, U.S. students dropped in performance when compared to other students worldwide. The failures of America's education system have been blamed on a multitude of factors: a rise in poverty levels, teacher quality, and of course, standardized tests. While the act was replaced by the Every Student Succeeds Act in 2015, standardized tests are still used. Congress needs to stop requiring annual standardized testing. While proponents of standardized testing may point to the value of tests in preparing children for adulthood, they only measure a small amount of what makes education valuable. According to the Program for International Student Assessment, also known as PISA, after the implementation of No Child Left Behind, the U.S. slipped from 18th in the world in math to 31st place in 2009, with a similar drop in science and no change in reading. These tests are also inefficient as tools of gauging college readiness because they only measure a small amount of what makes education meaningful. While they may show a student's proficiency in math, they cannot measure other skills, like critical thinking. According to late education researcher Gerald W. Bracey, standardized tests cannot measure creativity, critical thinking, resilience, motivation, persistence, curiosity, endurance, reliability, enthusiasm, empathy, self-awareness, self-discipline, leadership, civic-mindedness, courage, compassion, resourcefulness, a sense of beauty, a sense of wonder, honesty, or integrity. Furthermore, they only provide a one-day evaluation for a student. If a student has testing anxiety or had a rough morning, the test will not give an accurate reflection of their skill.
I think over the years, the effect of standardized testing on kids has been to make them become test takers.
It kind of stifles the creativity and it stifles the joy of learning.
We're kind of making them into little robots.
Standardized tests are also an unreliable way to measure student performance. A 2001 study published by the Brookings Institute found that 50 to 80% of year-over-year test score improvements were temporary and caused by fluctuations that had nothing to do with long-term changes in learning. The tests are also graded by computers, which are infamous for making mistakes in scoring. In 2010, NCS Pearson, which has a $254 million contract to administer Florida's comprehensive assessment test, delivered results over a month late, and their accuracy was challenged by over half the state's superintendents. Even earlier in 2004 and 2005, as a result of distribution problems and errors, Hawaii replaced test publisher Harcourt with the American Institutes for Research, but the latter had to regrade 98,000 tests after students received scores for submitting blank test booklets. While there are computing errors with grading multiple choice assignments, open-ended questions are graded by real people. However, these real people are often underpaid temporary workers with no education training. According to a former test scorer, all it takes to become a test scorer is a bachelor's degree, a lack of a steady job, and a willingness to throw independent thinking out the window. The emphasis placed on standardized testing leads to lower quality education. Teachers often feel pressured to teach to the test because they are penalized if their students score poorly. A 5-year University of Maryland study completed in 2007 found the pressures teachers were feeling to teach the test since No Child Left Behind was implemented led to declines in teaching higher order thinking, in the amount of time spent on complex assignments, and in the actual amount of high cognitive content in the curriculum. In addition, due to extensive amounts of test prep, schools tend to spend less time on important subjects. A nationwide study by the Center on Education Policy, completed in 2007, reported that since 2001, 44% of school districts had reduced the amount of time spent on science, social studies, and the arts by an average of 145 minutes per week in order to focus on reading and math. A survey released in the same year was answered by 1,250 civics, government, and social studies teachers. Results from the survey showed that 75% of those teaching current events less often cited standardized tests as the reason. In addition to decrease in instructional time, student engagement is lowered by teaching to the test. According to Whitby, a private school in Connecticut, educators may also stop trying new techniques and teaching methods in the classroom. With every minute counting on the way to their students' next exam, teachers will worry that an untested method will backfire and their students will score worse than before. This comes at the cost of inquiry, engagement, creativity, and risk-taking in student learning. Proponents of standardized tests may point to China as an example of standardized testing being successful. China has a long history of rigorous testing, and they have topped PISA charts since 2009. However, Chinese schools are trying to cut back on standardized tests because they have come at a cost. According to Deputy Principal of Peking University High School, Chinese schools are very good at preparing their students for standardized tests. For that reason, they fail to prepare them for higher education and the knowledge economy. China is trying to depart from the drilling kill test prep that Chinese educators admit has only produced competent mediocrity. In addition, from 2001 to 2008, Finland topped PISA charts. Finland does not use any external tests, instead finding success using assessments that encourage students to be active learners who are able to find, analyze, and use information to solve problems. Another common argument for standardized testing is that they are objective, can be used as comparative tools, and are a good way to hold schools accountable. However, scores are not truly objective because they vary based on subjective decisions made during test design and administration. The tests are also unable to be adequately compared to those of other students in the nation because tests vary from state to state. In addition, they are not good ways to hold schools accountable because they can only measure a small amount of what makes education valuable, and they are used in place of more helpful evaluation methods. According to the National Center for Fair and Open Testing, careful observation and documentation of student work and behaviors by trained teachers is more helpful than a one-time test. Assessment based on student performance on real learning tasks is more useful and accurate for measuring achievement and provides more information for teaching than multiple-choice achievement tests. These factors show that high emphasis on tests has consequences on children. High emphasis on tests leads to lower quality education, do not adequately prepare children for their futures, and are overall unreliable. The tests are less objective than testing proponents acknowledge, as tests differ from state to state and subjective decisions are made by administrators. There are more reliable ways to measure student achievement and to evaluate teachers. While testing may provide tracking of a student's progress from year to year, or give schools insight on their curriculums, the negatives outweigh the positives, and there are more reliable ways to achieve these goals.